Dorothy Allison grew up very poor in the South and found personal truth as a lesbian at a young age. If those two subjects seem miles apart, then Dorothy Allison needs to be on your reading list. In fact, these two realities not only coexisted for Allison, but were inseparable. For this activist writer, they are parts of a single identity, and this identity would inform the rest of the author's life, including their writing. Allison grew up in Greensboro, South Carolina in the 1950s, so it was not exactly a busy beehive of progressive mindsets. In addition to the writer's horrific life inside their house, outside was horrible in its own way. Bullying and oppression were the norm. Despite Allison's success in school, which caught the attention of teachers, the future writer's poverty and sexual identity were constant targets, obviously neither of which Allison could control. But if an ignorant person wanted to insult Allison with epithets about either subject today, this activist is way ahead of them. Here's an example of Allison discussing their poverty. Quote, "My family is consummate trash. Absolute. We are the people who become mechanics and laundry workers. And to say that there is something good and valuable in that heritage is an act of rebellion, and almost revolutionary." End quote. One gets the feeling that Allison uses oppressive terms as pure rocket fuel, not denying them, but embracing them as a rallying cry. Consider this 2001 quote from Allison. Quote, "I think the working class is the story of this country. The rich and the upper class have been riding our asses for hundreds of years, and I don't want to see us made over into a story that glorifies them. Our stories are glory enough." End quote. Dorothy Allison's own story continued with her education at Florida Presbyterian College, a financially prohibitive expense that was only possible on a full scholarship. At this school, Allison studied feminist literature, became very active in the pursuit of justice for lesbians, and would, in clandestine fashion, go out some evenings to date women. Being at a Presbyterian school, Allison again had to operate in secret. However, the writer was soon done with hiding, and in the 1970s founded an activist group. Naturally, Dorothy Allison gave the group a name that would not cause any controversy. That group's name was the Lesbian Sex Mafia, perhaps the coolest name assigned to a group ever. And certainly no conservative person could be offended by that. Allison writes, quote, "I wear my skin only as thin as I have to, armor myself only as much as seems absolutely necessary. I try to live naked in the world, unashamed even under attack, unafraid even though I know how much there is to fear." End quote. It is this kind of courage that radiates from the pages of the author's books, as well as their writings for several journals, including Outlook, Quest, and Conditions, journals for which the activist also edited. In Allison's first major publication, The Women Who Hate Me, the writer throws themselves into the line of fire immediately, discussing an unvarnished perspective as a lesbian. The women who hate the author are described as those who question Allison's bold encouragements of promiscuity, butch and femme roles, and sadomasochism. This challenged the image of feminism that a few feminists work to construct and maintain. As you can see from the title of the book, Allison lost little sleep due to this criticism. The author's greatest success in the mainstream was found with 1992's Bastard Out of Carolina, a raw, honest look into the writer's trauma, sexual identity, and poverty that consumed their childhood. The book enjoyed national success, was translated into a dozen other languages, and was adapted into a 1996 film. While Bastard Out of Carolina seemed bold in its content, this is the only way Allison can write. The author states, quote, "It's an illusion that writers have a lot of choice about what they write. Your stories are your stories. They're the only ones you can really tell. And if you try telling ones the world would like you to tell, you'll do it badly." End quote. 1994 saw the publication of an award-winning collection of essays titled Skin, talking about sex, class, and literature, and the author was awarded with a notable Book of the Year by the New York Times. Of course, the rather understated Notable Book of the Year does not have quite the moxie of a name such as, say, the Lesbian Sex Mafia. In 1998, Allison had another smash hit with the author's book Cave Dweller, which revisited the same things as Bastard Out of Carolina, again showing this writer's gift, diving deep into the subjects that Allison knows well. Yet it is not just the author's own boldness that matters to Allison. This is also what the writer asks of their readers. In the homepage's single quotation on the author's website, Allison asked the audience to read their writing with the same courage it took to create it. I will leave you with those words. Quote, "Understand me. What I am here for is to tell you stories that you may not want to hear. What I am here for is to rescue my dead, and to scare the hell out of you now and then. I was raised Baptist. I know how to do that." End quote.